What do you have, McLovin?
Okay, I'm just going to read some of the earlier names.
Go from 10 down to 1.
The 15's too good because you love this guy. 15, Drazen Petrovic.
Yes.
14, Chris Mullins. He's got to go higher, right? He was unbelievable.
Great shooter.
13, Mark Price. I don't know why Mullins below Price, whatever. Then Peja at 12. That's a guy you love his shot.
Yes.
11, J.J. Redick. 10, Steve Kerr, all-time three-point leader. 9, Dirk.
Okay.
8, Durant. Certainly belongs up there.
Yeah.
7 is Steve Nash.
Oh, okay. Made the list.
6, Kyle Korver. Then we get in the top 5.
See, I don't know if Korver's...
Oh, Korver's all-time three-point shooter. He's amazing. Look at his numbers.
But I'm talking about a shooter. I'm talking about a variety of shots. Kyle Korver had one shot.
This list seems to weigh three-point a lot.
Okay. Yes.
That sounds like you're getting into greatest scorer territory, not greatest shooter.
With Korver?
No,
or
if you're thinking of a variety of shots or like ways to score. It's sort of the way it read.
Well, I have Nash, who's a great three-point shooter and a great free throw shooter and a great mid-range jump shooter. Is that semantics? Because
maybe
he's showing that he can. Kyle Korver is not he's not shooting a 15-footer. He doesn't have that. Now maybe he does if he's all alone. Okay, if you want to put Kyle Korver in there, I'm not going to. I'm in a good mood. Steve Wiseman, he is the Duke beat writer for the Raleigh News and Observer, joining us on the program as we talk about Zion Williamson as this case moves forward. How big a story is this in the area, the Durham area, Steve?
Yeah, it's a big deal, and mainly, the rivals are really on top of each other here, right? Carolina down the road, NC State down the road. Everybody wants to see the big one go down. So that's a big deal because Duke's nearly never been hit with anything, and Zion was such a big star. And since the one and done era came in, there's always talk about are these players getting paid things on the side to go to certain schools, and this is one that's going through the court system, which can lead us to some concrete answers.
What is Zion being sued for?
He actually sued his agent first. His ex-agent. He signed a deal with Gina Ford in April of 2019 for marketing representation. And then a month later decided he wanted to go with CAA, a much larger firm, for contracts and marketing. So she exercised a clause that said he owed her $100 million for breaking the contract. So he sued, saying that his contract with her was never was void because she wasn't registered as an agent in North Carolina, and so she violated North Carolina agent laws. She countersued, saying that Zion was never really an athlete, an eligible student athlete, because he had taken improper benefits. So he never should have been declared. Therefore, the law doesn't apply to him. So she has a suit in Florida. He has a suit in federal court in Greensboro, North Carolina, and they're both kind of going through the process right now.
Does she have evidence of what Zion Williamson or any of his representatives, his parents, took from these shoe companies?
No, right now it's just allegations. We've asked several times for, what kind of evidence do you have? They have not presented anything publicly or in the court system. So we're still waiting on that. They wanted to depose him and ask him questions about it. And his law attorneys don't want that to happen. They're trying to stop that. They're trying to get the case thrown out before we even come to a discovery phase. So that's where we stand at this point.
What are his options?
Well, he can settle with her. And I think that's kind of what this is. It's leverage on either side. I mean, she wants $100 million. He wants to pay her nothing. So somewhere in the middle, they're going to reach a compromise probably before this gets any further. I have to believe that's where we're headed toward. But in the meantime, there's a lot of pressure being applied in both directions.
Any response from Duke?
Just their regular response that, they investigated his finances, his family's finances. The NCAA did it when they cleared him to play initially at Duke in April of 2019 when Michael Avenatti made his allegations as part of his extortion against Nike that Zion was paid, the Coach K was involved. Duke did another look at Zion's situation, not the athletic department, but the school. And they said they found no evidence to support any of these allegations. So that's where they are. They are steadfast that he's done nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong. And that's where they stand at this point.
How does this go badly for Zion and Duke?
if they don't reach an agreement and he has to be deposed and he's under oath, and they can ask, they've presented pointed questions like, did you take payments? Did anybody with your family take payments along the way? Was Coach K involved with these payments? That kind of stuff. Which again, there's no evidence to that yet out publicly, but those are the questions they want to ask him. And they've even Gina Ford's side, Prime Sports Marketing's attorneys, have even made inroads about deposing Coach K and other people are surrounding Zion, his family, things like that. So whenever you're under oath and you're being questioned in a deposition situation, who knows what they could ask and who knows what you'll have to answer and what could come out.
But is that more of a threat, a legal threat to say, hey, we're thinking about deposing your family here and Coach K, and if you're Zion Williamson, do you want to go down that road?
Right, and that's the fear. And so I think that's where the pressure is being applied to try to reach a settlement. And I don't think they do. Now, they claim that they've done nothing wrong. Duke claims nothing's been done wrong. But yet Zion's attorneys have not come out full throat and said, we deny all these allegations. That hasn't happened yet. I don't know if they're holding that back as part of the leverage or what, but that hasn't happened. So I think that before this comes to deposition, I have to believe they're going to come to a settlement, because at some point, he has to decide, does he want to just make this go away?
But if you come to a settlement, is that sort of the court of public opinion is going to be like, okay, he took something, Duke knew about this. What does the NCAA do if there is a settlement in a situation like this? Do they, they usually like somebody to do all the work for them, and then they come in. But how does the NCAA get involved in this if there's a settlement with Zion and the former marketing person?
They're going to want to go back and take a look at it. They almost have to. And just like with all the other cases that are going on that surrounded the Adidas thing and the FBI, you're right. They want people to do most of the work for them. That's why they're, I'm sure, hoping this deposition happens so that one way or another, they can put it to bed, right? They either he admits he did something wrong, or under oath admits he didn't. And then you go from there. So, that's, again, I think the NCAA will have to look at this again, even though they say they already have when Zion came into school. Duke has shared everything they gathered in the second investigation with the NCAA. They work in conjunction. So that's where they stand with that.
Yeah, and I still go back to the audio tape of the Kansas assistant, and he is heard talking about what Zion's family or stepfather wants to go to Kansas. This isn't going to Creighton. This is going to Kansas. So are we under the belief or of the belief that he wants something, or his dad wants something to go to Kansas, but then he doesn't want something at Duke? I mean, I'm just trying to be logical here. I don't want to cast aspersions as much as I just want to go, okay, I might need something. He needs something from Kansas, but then he goes to Duke and he doesn't need anything. Does that make sense to you?
It's not logical, is it? In the real world, it doesn't make sense that would happen. And, there was some talk about Clemson and one of their assistants who lost his job as part of the investigation, the FBI stuff, his involvement with Zion, saying that, he made trips there and things like that. So, it doesn't logically make sense. And that's why, to me, if he goes under oath and says what he believes is true, that he didn't do anything wrong, that would be the best outcome for Duke and the NCAA. Because if it does go away with a settlement, everybody's still going to wonder, like you said, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, what did he really do? We had this situation with Duke 8-9 years ago with Lance Thomas, who was on the 2010 championship team, who got some jewelry from a jeweler in Manhattan during his senior year, and then the jeweler sued him because Lance didn't pay him for it. He got it free for a while. They settled it out of court, and they just went away. So again, that's the case where everybody always points back to Lance Thomas. What really happened with that? What did Duke know? What they didn't know? And it never really came to fruition.
How much are the Carolina fans enjoying this?
It's great for them. It's message board, fodder for State, Carolina, Kentucky. Anybody who hates Duke, this is what you wanted to have happen. We've seen a lot of programs go down like this, right? Or get in the muck. Kansas, you mentioned. I mean, for years, Kansas was one of the shining lights of college basketball, and then now they're down in the muck with everybody else. So yeah, whenever somebody's on top, there's plenty of other people that want to see him go down.
Steve, good stuff. We'll be following. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be with you.
That's Steve Wiseman, the Duke beat writer for the Raleigh News and Observer. Major League Baseball has to understand, like, it just feels like this is a tenuous relationship. Like, are we going to go steady again? Or we're just going to flirt with one another? We're going to date other people. We're going to see other sports leagues. That's the feeling I get here, that Major League Baseball has to understand this. You could have taken advantage of this. You're letting your public, it's a private dispute that's been made public here, and it's not a good look for either side. Imagine if baseball was ready to play in the next 2 weeks. Just look at the popularity that you could have, and people would rediscover the game. You're going to come back when you're going to have all these other sports leagues in full bloom, and your games are going to probably be meaningless because you're going to have just people saying NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, golf's majors will be coming back, college football, the NFL, and then you're going to have Major League Baseball, a sport that's really lost its identity as one of the big three. It is, but it's, there's 1 and 2, and then it feels like there's Major League Baseball. Just from how much information, how many headlines, how many stories, how many stars that we talk about, that we want to see. And baseball could have owned this. It could have been a real boom for them. And now, who knows when Major League Baseball comes back? Because I at least have a time frame for these other leagues. I don't with Major League Baseball. I don't know why they need to make it so complicated. It's just, if I have all 22 teams, each playing 8 games, and then that decides the standings. So I've given the Blazers, I've given Zion and the Pelicans a chance to make the playoffs. And then when you don't make the playoffs, then that's it. Then you go home. Those 16 goes home. You have 16 teams, and then you have a playoff series here. Play-in tournament in the NBA's 22-team format would be only for the 8th seed. If the 9th seed is 4 games or more back, 8th seed earns the spot. If 9th seed is 4 games or fewer behind, then there's a play-in. Oh,
excuse me.
Single elimination for the 9th seed, double. No. Yes, Todd.
I'm confused for these last 8 regular season games, or whatever we want to call them. How do they decide who's playing who so that it's fair? I'm confused on how that works. And how do they decide who's playing someone first or second as opposed to their 7th or 8th game when you're probably improving by the time you get to your last couple of games as far as who your opponent is?
I have no idea because you don't have the entire field in there. And if you'd said, let's just go back to the regular season schedule with the NBA, you may have a game against the Knicks, and the Knicks aren't involved in this, or Golden State's not involved in this. I don't know how they're picking the 8 game. Oh, don't make it more complicated. Just give Portland a chance, or you want to give the Pelicans a chance, and then that's it. And you play your 8 games, and then if you're not there in the top 16, then you don't get to play. Yes, Eden.
This feels a lot like there were people in a room, and somebody was like, all right, how about this? We'll do X, Y, Z. And somebody said, no. How about this? And it was like sort of like, how about this? How about this? And then it all just got so much more complicated. Okay, now this is what it is. If the 9th seed is 4th or over, everybody agree? What?
Gosh.
The hell?
Todd, what did you learn today?
Klay Thompson and Kyle Korver may be a bit too high on CBS's list of the all-time best shooters.
Yeah, I didn't get upset about it. I just said, I think to be a great shooter in the NBA, you should be able to get your shot. And Kyle Korver couldn't get his shot, and Steve Kerr couldn't get his shot. I think being a good shooter is the ability to get a shot to shoot. Kyle Korver doesn't get a shot. I don't care how great a shooter he is. He's wonderful in warm-ups, but he's not getting a shot off. Yeah, McClellan.
What if Michael Jordan had been number 1 on this
I
list?
know. Then I would have been screaming. I would have been, that wouldn't have been good. I'm surprised Jordan wasn't on there. They just gave you the top 15, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe 16. McLevin, what did you learn?
Yeah, Klay Thompson, number 2 on this list.
All right.
Surprised.
All right. I'd like a little more with him, maybe 10 years in, but then I'd be saying the same thing about Steph Curry. Steph Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. Seton O'Connor.
Just when I thought we had cleared ourselves of a list.
I know.
Dang-a-lang.
Paulie?
Our buddy Dan Lebitard loved our "What kind of boat would you want?" bit.
I know. That's great. That's great. Such an inside joke. What we learned brought to you by Traeger. Join the Traeger hood. Taste the wood fire difference by contacting your local dealer, visiting TraegerGrills.com/DP show, and do that today. Once again, Dana White tomorrow. Hopefully Adrian Wojnarowski will join us, and former Kentucky great Rex Chapman. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.